Hello and welcome to this quick tour around PebblePad. PebblePad is a personal learning system and all staff and students have a PebblePad account which is accessible via your network username and password. Within PebblePad you can store and create all kinds of digital items which can be used for a variety of purposes, for example e-portfolios, blogs, CVs and general career progression activities. No one can see into your PebblePad account, but you can choose to share an item with another PebblePad user, for example a fellow student, a tutor or a colleague. You can also share items with individuals who don't have PebblePad accounts, for example mentors within placement settings or future employers, as long as you know their external email address. You may be asked to compile a piece of work and submit it to an area for tutors to view and comment on, such as an assessment activity. PebblePad is an externally hosted system which is accessible 24/7 via any internet browser or mobile device. When you access the PebblePad link via the University of Cumbria website, either via the staff or students area, you will be presented with a page that looks like this, and you can log into the system using this PebblePad Plus button here. Before we log in, I'd like to draw your attention to the login options button here, where you can choose different versions of the system, an accessible version, a HTML only version or a Flash version, and then you can save these settings as your default, so each time you log into PebblePad you'll be presented with the choices you've made here. But if you just want to go into the normal system without any changes, just click onto the Login to PebblePad logo and then enter your network username and password. Click Login when you're ready. And then I'm using Internet Explorer here. PebblePad does use pop-ups to operate, so you will need to allow pop-ups for PebblePad on whatever browser, Safari, Firefox, Internet Explorer or Google Chrome. So once you've allowed pop-ups, you'll be taken to your PebblePad homepage, which will look like this. And I'm just going to walk you through the buttons on the top grey line first. The first button you come to is a globe-shaped button, and that's Atlas, which is the active teaching, learning and assessment space. And here you may, as a student, you might be asked to either collect a template to fill in or submit a piece of work to Atlas for marking by your tutor. Or if you're a tutor and you want to come in and mark students' work, you'd come into Atlas via this area here. The star icon is the Resource Centre, which is a storage space for master copies of templates you may have created in PebblePad, which you can reuse, or banner designs that you've created that you might want to reuse again. So that's really an area where master copies are kept. And then the four squares icon is your asset store, and this houses all the items you've either created within PebblePad or have brought into your PebblePad account that you've created elsewhere, such as Word documents, pictures, podcasts, films, anything digitally. There's no file size limit for items brought into PebblePad, so it's an extremely flexible storage space for all kinds of digital items. The I is an information button, and that tells you a little bit about PebblePad, where it was designed, and it does state that it's housed externally. The question mark icon takes you to PebblePad's help area, and this is extremely useful for all kinds of help in anything that you might wish to find out about in PebblePad. Just simply select, if you want to learn how to share an item with a colleague or a friend, then there's items here. From here you can download a PDF of the instructions if you want, or print them out. So there's help on anything you might need to find out about in Pebble Plus or even in Atlas. And there's also a custom help area where if you are perhaps wanting to find out how to share an item, how to submit an item to a workspace and how to make comments on an item, all you do is select the boxes next to the areas you want to find out about, and then click on this Generate Help file, and it will provide you with an area just with those 3 items that you've selected. You can from there again download the item as a PDF or print it out and save it and store it elsewhere for you. But the help in PebblePad is really excellent, and there's also loads of videos that will go through anything you might need to find out about PebblePad. So that's via the question mark icon on the top grey toolbar. And then the final button is a logout button. So once you're ready to leave PebblePad, just click the logout button and that will return you to your internet browser. I'll now go on to the green toolbar and just very quickly go through each of the 5 headings. I'm not going to go into too much detail. at this stage there are further videos that you can access via the website, but also don't forget about the help area. So the first button we come to is the Add New button, and this is where you can create all kinds of items in PebblePad following fairly structured routes. A post, for example, is an A4 piece of paper where you might quickly want to document your thoughts, add a photograph, perhaps link to a website, perhaps link to another item within your PebblePad account, such as a Word document or a spreadsheet or something. But that really is an A4 piece of paper that is ready for you to do with it what you like. The file is where you'd come to bring in the external stuff you've already created that might be on your computer or your pen drive. Bring these items into your PebblePad via the file area. And once you've brought files in, they'll be all stored in your asset store. CV items, you can create a CV for every occasion you might wish, but first of all you need to fill in these boxes: personal, professional, academic, and these items are all stored securely in your PebblePad account. Nobody can see into your PebblePad account, if you remember, but when you actually come to create a CV, you pick and choose the bits for each particular audience and create a CV, and you actually do the creation of the CV in this area here, but first of all you do need to fill in these sort of pro forma information. And then there's an action plan that you can fill in, where you can fill in boxes. There's give it a title. Where do you want to be? Where are you now? What's the steps to success? There's a SWOT analysis that you can fill in, and then save that. And they're very good for charting where you are at a particular given time, and then you can reflect back on them in 12 months' time. Action plans are very interesting to fill in. We've then got experiences, where you can record activities, meetings, experiences, reflections, where you can reflect on a particular incident that might have happened in your life and how you would tackle it differently next time. The PebblePad system is very much teaching you how to reflect on your own practice, whether it's going through your studies, in your work life, how you would change things if you had the chance to do that instance again, and the talents, where you can record abilities and achievements. So it's very much a me sort of system, where you are collecting information into your PebblePad account which nobody else can see, and you can share with people if you want to, but it's totally up to you what things you store in your PebblePad account. So Add New is fairly structured pro formas that you can fill in or bring in external files into PebblePad. Now the Design New area is where you get slightly more creative with the things you create in PebblePad. From here you can create blogs, CVs and webfolios. Activity log and collection are both fairly new features to this version of PebblePad, and an activity log is where you can record the length of time you've spent on a particular CPD activity. It might be that you've got to prove that you've spent 20 hours on a particular training issue, on a particular piece of work, and by creating an activity log, you can then record the points. You can add the things that you created in those 20 hours, for example, and then share that perhaps with your boss, your line manager, your tutor. A blog is an online reflective journal that you can keep. A blog really is a container that holds lots of posts. Each time you create a new entry in your blog, it's saved separately into your asset store as a post, but the collection of all these varied posts are all kept in a blog. And the reason why your entries are kept separately, it might be that you've got this blog and it's quite, it's whilst you've been on perhaps a placement and it's quite raw, the things you've gone through. You might talk about things that have happened that you don't really want to share with other people, but there might be one blog entry that you would be willing to share or might want to link to in an assignment. So this is why, if each posting is kept separately, you could then link to the one item that you're happy to share to include in your assignment, but you don't want to link the whole blog to your assignment. The collection is a bit like an RSS feed, where you can set criteria for the collection. When you set it up, you give it a title and you set the criteria. So it might be that you want to collect items that you've created and brought into your PebblePad account within a certain length of time. So behind the scenes, as long as you set the criteria correctly, items that you bring in within those dates you've set will be added to this page, this collection. So next time you look at it behind the scenes without you doing any work, the collection will have built up automatically. And you can also set criteria with regards to tags, keywords, asset types and dates as well. Collections are very powerful. For more information, I would certainly recommend a visit to the help area. CVs, we've mentioned those already, but CVs, it pulls information that you've already entered via the Add New area. Folio pages and web folios. A web folio, the simplest explanation is it's a bit like a mini website. You can have lots of different pages containing different information. On those pages you can include photographs, podcasts, films, links to websites, links to items you've already created in PebblePad using the Proformas, or links to items that you've brought in that you've created externally, such as Word documents. So you might want to create a web folio to collect evidence together of the next stage of your career, and really it's a way of digitally creating an A4 binder full of information, full of useful links which prove to an audience that you can achieve the next rung on your career ladder. You can use web folios for information, which you can publish onto a website if you like. You can use it for presentation if you've got a future employer in mind and you want to showcase all your skills, perhaps examples of work you've created. You could create a web folio and share that with an external person as long as you've got their email address. So web folios are probably the most complicated thing you can create in PebblePad, but they really are very easy to use and very powerful. A web folio is created of lots of folio pages. So if you did just want to have a one-page web folio or folio, for example, a newsletter that you might want to share with a group of people, you can just have one folio page if you want. But a web folio is a collection of folio pages. From the View button, you can see into your asset store, which is exactly the same as clicking onto these 4 square icons here. Your contacts are everybody that you might have shared items with within PebblePad. Now you can add new contacts if you want to from here by searching either their username or their surname, and it will search the University of Cumbria database of users. Usually, as a rule of thumb, students are in uppercase and their username consists of their student number. Staff members are generally in lowercase and their username is made up of their name itself. And if you wanted to bring in external people, friends, family, future employers, add their name here and their external email address, and they will be added to your contact manager from here as well. I'll just close this down. So that's your contact manager. Messages. Once somebody shares an item with you, you'll be sent an email to say that Fred Blogs has shared an item with you, so you're not totally oblivious to things happening in your PebblePad account. And similarly, if you ever submit a piece of work for assessment to Atlas, then you'll be sent an email to say that your work has been received successfully at the other end. But once somebody then starts to make comments on your work or makes changes to it, you don't get emails, as though your email box would get clogged up very quickly. But if you want to see most recent activity that's happened in your PebblePad account, you can click on this message centre, and the message centre is also accessible via this tiny envelope icon to the bottom right of your screen as well. So again, like any websites, there's different ways of getting to the same place. So this will tell you if feedback's been released on a particular piece of work of yours, your submission to an Atlas area that's been received successfully, and you can click into any of the pieces of work and you can see the work that you actually submitted at the time. So messages is very good. If somebody's put a comment on your piece of work, you can go straight to the piece of work there without searching for it from your asset store. You can quickly go into it and see what that person said about your work. So that's the message centre. My details, this is an area that you can again fill in if you want to, fill in with your name, address, contact details, personal information. If you wanted to add a picture of yourself, you can do this here via the select profile image. And then each time you perhaps make a comment on somebody else's work, or if you're a member of staff and you add feedback to a student's piece of work, your image will show when they read the comment that you've made. And the final thing is tagging. Tagging is covered in much more detail via the help area, but tagging in a very brief way within PebblePad is a way that you can organise your assets. You can assign keywords to your assets either when you create them or afterwards, which then you can use to filter out your assets. So for example, you're doing a module at the university and you create a tag for that particular module, then each time you add a piece of work and tag it with that module code name, you can then, when you're looking at all your assets, and you might have hundreds of assets in your PebblePad account, but if you filter out just those assets with that particular tag, it'll strip out everything else and just show you the items that you've tagged with that module code. And tagging really comes into its own with the collection feature that we mentioned earlier. Any questions about tagging, just look at the help and that will fill in all the gaps. Tools and resources, this is where you can get to Atlas, you can get to your resource centre from here. Other tools that are here, and again I'm not going to go into detail, but you've got a template builder here. So basically, if you see the proformas here, an action plan, it's quite nice, but it doesn't cover everything you want to put into an action plan. You can, if you want to, create your very own template which is tailor-made for yourself. It might be that you're on a placement and you need to record instances on a weekly basis, and you might want a template for that, so you can fill in week one's happenings and save those into your asset store, and then use the same template again to fill in the happenings for week two, save them separately. So it's something that you can reuse time and time again. So it's tailor-made. You can add all sorts of questions, single line text, multiple line text, multiple choice, tables, Likert scales, anything like that. You can create some very interesting templates with that. Workbooks are really for tutors who want to create a workbook for their students to add to as they're going through their learning. So it might be that you might be asked, if you're a student, to fill in a workbook, or you might want to create a workbook, and you do that via this area under Tools and Resources. We've also got an area where we can customise banners, customise appearance. This is your Pebble Pad account. It's your own personal space. Everyone lands on this homepage with the University of Cumbria logo on here. And each time you work on something in Pebble Pad, for example, if we open our asset store, for example, this is why we need to enable pop-ups. These are little pop-up windows that arrive on top of your homepage. So these are quite grey boxes on top of a fairly grey homepage. And then when you actually want to look at something, you open it up, and then another box pops up. So this is where the pop-ups are working. So you can see there's a very exciting post there with lots of gobbledygook in it. So if you close this panel down, the feedback we've had so far is that the panels on top of this grey homepage can get quite muddled and lost. So the first thing I would recommend that you do from this area is customise the appearance, which is where you can change your landing page, as it were. You can choose your own image. They can bring into Pebble Pad a picture of your dog or your family, and you want that to be your landing page. You can, if you want to, change the background colour, the font size. So on the accessibility front, you can make whatever changes you want for your Pebble Pad account, and those changes will remain each time you log into Pebble Pad. But there is a gallery of images that Pebble Pad have provided, which you can choose from if you wish. So very quickly, we'll just choose an image here. You can preview it if you want to see if that's the sort of image you want as your landing page. You can see it's changed the landing page. If not, you can choose a different image and preview that. But I'll just go for some sunflowers, save and close. If you ever want to go back to the University of Cumbria landing page, you can always click on reset and that will take you back. But I'm going to select the sunflowers and click save and close. So that's fairly bright. So next time I open up my asset store, it's not as grey on grey. Final thing under Tools and Resources is your personal account. When you leave the University of Cumbria, you can take your personal account with you, which is free of charge for 12 months. You can continue to edit anything that's in your account, add to it. It might be that you're going into a career where you're expected to use Pebble Pad. There are quite a few careers and professional bodies now who are using Pebble Pad as their CPD mechanism. So it might be that you're expected to use Pebble Pad again. So here, before you leave the university, register for a personal account, which means that you need to just enter your external email address, and your account will be taken off the University of Cumbria systems and added to Pebble Pad systems. You'll probably get a different username and password, but to access exactly the same stuff you've got in your Pebble Pad account. After the 12 months, if you don't want to carry on using Pebble Pad, you can just download everything onto a disk if you want to, or you can continue to pay Pebble Pad to keep your account open, which is about £10 a year, but you'd pay that directly to Pebble Pad. And then under the settings area, we have notifications and a link to Google Drive. Notifications is where you can ask Pebble Pad to email you a digest every time something happens on your Pebble Pad account when people make comments. You don't have to switch this on. It's not switched on as default, but if you wanted it to be emailed on a daily basis at a certain time, you can set some choices here, and then you'll be emailed. So once you've made your changes, click the Save button and then close this window down. And the final button on the blue toolbar now we've got is a link to a Google Drive. If you are using Google Docs, you can access all your Google Docs via this link here. You can enter your Google Docs details and your two accounts will be linked together. So if you are making a webfolio and you want to link to a document you've got in Google Docs, then you can do that from within Pebble Pad. So we hope this quick tour has given you an insight into your way around Pebble Pad. There are more videos available via this area of the University of Cumbria website, so do look out for other videos, and for any queries, please look at the Skills at Cumbria area of Blackboard, where there'll be further help and resources for all kinds of things, and don't forget the help button. Thank you.